Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. First up today, I just want to clarify what's going on with Tesla's AI5 because I think some people are still a bit confused. Over the weekend, Jan from EV Wire broke the news that Tesla's AI5 has now been taped out by Samsung. Some of the confusion started with what Elon said April of this year. Congrats to the Tesla AI chip design team on taping out AI5. So back in April this year, Tesla's design team for the chip taped out their variant, which they shipped off to Samsung and TSMC. But the news over the weekend was that Samsung has finished their version of their tape out, meaning that design is now ready to be fed into Samsung's actual manufacturing process. The news came from a Samsung engineer, James Kim, who on LinkedIn said the AI5 chip has reached tape out. It's scheduled to be manufactured at the Taylor fab using our latest 2nm process and will soon be integrated into Tesla's newest products. Just a heads up though, that post has since been deleted. That news of course started going global, but ultimately we do not have the official reason for the deletion of the post. But if that post is actually true, I think the biggest takeaway is that AI5 will actually be on Samsung's 2nm process. Over the past few months, there's been plenty of speculation that AI5 might be on a more mature node at Samsung, maybe something like 4nm. Because yes, a more advanced node like 2nm does give you more capability, but you also incur more risk. Whereas when you take a slight step back from the frontier, you de-risk a lot of things from the supply chain and the manufacturing process and the yields and really everything involved. So this would certainly be a sign of confidence from Tesla and Samsung that Samsung's 2nm process in Taylor, Texas is continually improving the yields and will ultimately be able to produce AI5 reliably at massive volumes. In that post, James Kim did say that AI5 would soon be integrated into Tesla's newest product, so if I had to guess, that's why somebody from Tesla may have asked him to take it down. AI5 is not going to be in any Tesla products anytime soon. It seems to me like plenty of people have totally forgot that we have an entire in-between chip step from AI4 to AI5. Elon recently said, at some point, I think it'll make sense for us to switch to AI5 in the car, but there's not a pressing issue to do so. At some point, the AI4 hardware is going to get so old that it's like, okay, the only reason they're keeping the factory open is for AI4. We are planning an AI4 upgrade to use newer generation RAM. It'll go from 16 gigabytes to, I think, 32 gigabytes per SoC, system on chip, so a total of 64 gigabytes because Tesla uses a dual SoC, which of course is for redundancy. Elon said probably a 10% increase in compute and memory bandwidth. And Tesla's calling that upgrade AI 4.1 or AI 4 Plus. And Elon said probably goes into production middle of 2027, I think. Samsung is doing the modifications for us, so it sort of depends on when they're able to finish those modifications and bring it to production. Elon said that April of this year, so the latest is that this AI 4 Plus wouldn't make it into Tesla vehicles until maybe sometime in Q3 2027. So unless something changes, I do not see AI5 going into Tesla vehicles anytime in 2027. And the reason I think this is so important to clarify, because I personally at a time was waiting for AI5 in a vehicle to upgrade my Tesla. That was when we thought that upgrade was going to happen next year, but that's no longer the case. So now personally, I'd be waiting for AI4 Plus. And right now, in terms of AI5 in a Tesla vehicle, my guess would be 2028 at the very earliest. And even then, at this point, I would say Elon doesn't even really know. I think this is one of the more overlooked aspects of Surfshark, the sponsor of this video. Surfshark has a rotating IP feature that automatically changes your IP address every 5 minutes within your chosen location. And this one's overlooked because, well, why does that matter? That's because a standard VPN keeps you under one IP address for the entirety of your session. So even if your actual IP address is masked with a VPN, if it stays the same all the time, then some traceable behavior patterns can emerge. But with Surfshark's Nexus technology, you'll get that rotating IP. It changes every 5 minutes, which will make your online identity even harder to track. And all of this technology runs on Surfshark's core VPN across an unlimited number of devices, so your entire family can be protected with only one account. And Surfshark really is constantly evolving to move beyond just a VPN. It now offers the email scam checker right in Chrome and Gmail that uses AI to flag phishing attempts before you fall for them. And as someone who gets dozens of emails every single day with potential offers, this has been invaluable for me. Here's my Surfshark dashboard, and anytime I need to create a new online account, I will do so using an alternative ID. The whole process takes only a matter of seconds, and it seamlessly links to your actual email. And in a world where AI scams will continue to proliferate, I just think we should be doing everything we can to protect ourselves. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can start your 7-day free trial and unlock 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN by heading to surfshark.com/electrified or using code electrified at checkout. And in April of this year, TOSV did ask Elon about AI-5, will it go into cars or robots? To which Elon said Optimus and our supercomputer clusters, AI-4 is enough to achieve much better than human safety for FSD. But listen, I understand why not everybody believes Elon when he says these things anymore, because he did say the exact same thing for Hardware 3 quite some time ago. And years later, he finally admitted that Hardware 3 will not be achieving unsupervised. And clearly, FSD version 15 is not done, so the Tesla team doesn't really know exactly how that's going to pan out when it's ready to be released. So my point, there's just still a level of uncertainty around all of this. And one more important reminder, Elon said this November of last year, AI-5 will not be available in sufficient volume to switch over Tesla production lines until mid-2027, as we need several 100,000 completed AI-5 boards line side. So that timeline is almost certainly now pushed back significantly. So for AI-5, given the Samsung tape-out news, again, if that's ultimately true, ordinarily it'll take at least a few months for the first engineering samples, and I would bake in some level of delay given the newness of the 2nm process. So call it November for engineering samples, and then really throughout 2027 is when AI-5 could begin scaling at Samsung. But I just want to make it abundantly clear, as far as we know right now, the plan from Tesla is not to incorporate AI-5 into the vehicles. At this point, it's really just a maybe at some point down the line. But whether it's Optimus or Tesla's compute cluster that gets an AI-5 chip first, Tesla will likely wait until they have significant numbers, potentially in the hundreds of thousands, line side, meaning sitting there ready to go into the products, before actually deploying this chip. So yes, this is a meaningful milestone. Yes, it's encouraging Samsung's feeling good about its 2nm process, and that will be enough at high enough volumes soon enough for Tesla. And now Tesla has a credible dual source path for AI-5 through both Samsung and TSMC on a leading edge node, which you could argue does make the milestone more important, because hypothetically, if Samsung was not ready with a 2nm process, Tesla would likely be more reliant on TSMC. But for now, it looks like Tesla is ready to roll with both on the frontier. But by and large, most of the hard work still lies ahead. And one last thing, just be careful. If you ask AI, it might kick back to you that Tesla has a AI 4.5 coming. That would be a 3 system on chip, adding an extra layer of redundancy and compute. Just don't forget that that's not accurate. Tesla came out and said that was just mislabeling. So AI 4.5 is not a thing. A 3 SoC from Tesla is not a thing. It's the AI 4 Plus that we're waiting for, and we might not even get that in Tesla vehicles until the middle of next year. But far and away, most importantly, the indication is that the Tesla team believes AI 4, just 4, will be enough to achieve unsupervised FSD far safer than a human. On the consumer FSD front, we now have 14.3.5 rolling out to the early access group. And so far, the parking still seems to be a problem.
This might be a good test, see what it does. So the pin is just right here on the left. So it is now pulling in on this ramp. So far, not good. Wow, okay, so it's parking perpendicular on, this is street parking. Just park parallel to the curb. That's 2 in a row. Absolutely horrendous. I would have picked a spot in the middle, but it looks like it nailed it. No, on the line. Not a very good park job. 1335 sucks at parking, but I still love you, Tesla AI. I still believe in you.
But at the same time, we have DJ on 14.3.5 saying he parked 5 times and each time it's been great. One was a bit too close to the line, but still good. Personally, it's starting to feel like we won't get a major parking lot improvement until version 15, just speculation. So the main thing I'm watching for with this version is the jitters and the brake stabbing because I'm still getting it. For me on 14.3.4. And nearly everybody that I've seen comment about this has said that they are largely gone. So with that, I'm encouraged, but we'll see. However, DJ also said in the comments that it then tried to park in a handicapped spot, so he changed the grade to a C. And it looks like the manual blinker override is still not working for turns. It's really only to change lanes, which is a feature I would love to have given how poor the navigation is still oftentimes, at least in my geography. The ability to override the navigation without having to disengage would be a nice feature. In the release notes for .5, it says you can now open the camera preview at any time, even if your Tesla is not in park. Just go to Controls, Service, and then Camera Preview. And David did confirm in his video it works. Here's his 8 camera setup with his hardware configuration, which he pulled up in the middle of the drive. And yes, the FSD tentacle on the mobile app is showing up with this version. Devin Olson said, "I'll go on record saying the nag in .5 seems more relaxed than ever. The only message he's gotten is keep hands ready to steer, and that's after some pretty egregious phone use." He said the only nag he's getting is when he holds his phone with both hands for a long time. And I'm assuming that would be on the standard profile. And DJ said he can confirm the nag is reduced in .5, but also when it's triggered, the fuse is much shorter, so be ready. Before I even talk about this one, I just want to make it very clear the dog in this video is okay. The original post said he checked on the dog, they went to the vet, and everything turned out alright for him. But this is the trolley problem in action, and it's something I've always been wondering about how the Robotaxi will handle the situations where a negative outcome is nearly unavoidable. So the first frame where you can actually see this dog is back here. Car's going 53 miles an hour on self-driving. But interestingly, it doesn't really brake for a while. We're at this point now, the dog is very clearly visible and still 53 miles an hour. And I go frame by frame, and it's not until right here where the car starts braking. And of course, at this point, the car can't swerve completely to the left because there's an oncoming car. And I'll just play it from here. And the OP said it was FSD 14.2.2.5. And here it is in real time. Certainly an unfortunate situation. I'm not sure there's a lot FSD could have done differently here. I think it did better than a lot of humans would do. And you could make the argument that FSD saved that dog's life by reducing the impact. Shifting to the Robotaxi front, Spencer broke the news that there's a permit saying a cleaning robot is now in the scope of work that has officially been permitted and now built, and it completed construction March of this year. And looking at the Texas filing, it says scope of work, restroom addition, equipment inspection system, supercharger cabinet and chargers, and a cleaning robot. And this location with the cleaning robot is only 15 minutes west of Giga, Texas. And once again, this is just part of all of the infrastructure Tesla will likely want in place before scaling the service. And don't miss the 2 important words on this Texas permit. It says current status project closed, which means the scope of work is already done. This is anecdotal, but Spencer also said that the wait times in Dallas seem to be better. In his testing over the weekend, he said he did not hit high service demand all day, and the longest wait time was 7 minutes. Now, of course, we don't know how many people are requesting rides in Dallas. I've said numerous times outside of Austin, it's still really more of a pilot and a beta. But it wasn't just that report alone. We have Grayson saying major improvement in the Robotaxi Miami wait times. At least for this ride, he only waited 4 minutes. Personally though, I think the wait times have more to do with the lack of demand, meaning only nerds like us are aware the service even exists. It's not like Tesla has 10 to 20 cars in the service. It still sounds like it's somewhere between 2 and 5 in Miami, and perhaps somewhere between 5 and 10 in Dallas. However, Cybercabs continue to accumulate. S.E. Robinson said over the weekend that there were 100 Cybercabs in Houston alone. But again, none of them in this video, at least that we can see, have the Cybercab badging yet. And Grayson shared a video of the Cybercab testing in Miami. It does appear like it's filmed with a potato, but you can clearly see the Cybercab with the safety operator in what would be the driver position, and it looks like his hand is sitting on a steering wheel. No Cybercab badging. When it comes to FSD approval across the EU, I'm going to put this one squarely in the rumor category, but we have this account saying that he was at a Tesla showroom in Germany and he said FSD is coming very, very soon. And there are a few reports of Tesla employees at service centers getting ready for customer test drives. And further, the software trackers do have a version with FSD being downloaded on some German cars. Of course, these owners can't yet use it because the KBA hasn't approved it, but my point, there are some drum beats that I think are worth pointing out. And further, if Germany does approve Tesla's supervised FSD on its own ahead of the vote, that would mean very encouraging things for the vote overall. And frankly, I would actually be surprised if Germany did this ahead of the vote, but they might, so we'll see. Gavin Newsom shared that he signed legislation for Californians to get $3,500 off new EVs and $1,750 off used models. He said this is to replace the void left by the GOP repealing the federal EV tax credit. However, when you read the fine print, you realize this is much better for Rivian and Lucid than it is for Tesla. That's because there's a $50,000 cap on the final MSRP of the vehicle, meaning after you spec your vehicle. So if the out-the-door price, if you will, goes over $50,000, you will not get the credit. However, California put an exception in this bill, and if you're headquartered in California, which by the way, Rivian and Lucid are, that $50,000 cap does not apply to you. And we know Tesla moved its headquarters to Austin, so they do have the cap applied. So because Rivian and Lucid are headquartered in California, you can spec their vehicles all the way up, no cap applies, customer gets the credit. But Tesla, on the other hand, because it moved its headquarters out of California, the $50,000 cap does apply to Tesla. And not only did Gavin do that, but he also just said this.
Elon Musk.
One of the great disappointments. One of the great innovators of our time. I brought up Edison before. He's Edison of our time. It breaks my heart. I was the first, one of the first Teslas off the line. I've been one of their biggest proponents, supporters. It was regulation in California that created the conditions that allowed him to take the risk to become the multi-billionaire, maybe trillionaire that he's become. Now he's going to space, and he's now turning his back, not only in the state that promote him, though he has no problem getting the R&D tax credits and moving his world headquarters on R&D here and having Grok here and most of his talent here, which is also interesting. But right now he's allowing, and I think this is Trump, not just Elon Musk, he's going to allow the greatest on goal in, I think, one of the most significant on goals in the next decade is ceding the EV space to China. They have 70% of the global EV market. Elon was the one accelerating that. Now he's put the brakes on his own innovation in that space and now shifted to robotics, humanoids, including the line here at Fremont, his largest manufacturing line, arguably outside of Shanghai, the largest in the world.
I'd love to know what kind of drugs Gavin Newsom is doing because, as we know, Elon is not pumping the brakes on electric vehicles. He responds to market demand, he responds to policy changes, and oh, by the way, let's not forget about the Cybercab that Gavin seemingly completely left out. Not to mention, America would be completely and utterly dead in the water without Tesla and Elon. So no, in no way is Tesla ceding the EV race to China. If anything, it's our legacy automakers that choose to put profit over the future that are continuing to build out gas models that have zero interest or passion in creating compelling EVs for their customers. So hey Gavin, if you want to point the finger at somebody for ceding the EV race to China, it's definitely not Tesla and Elon. Point at any of the legacy automakers. But yeah, if you want to know why Gavin put that stupid headquarter rule in that new bill, well, there you go. And speaking of Fremont, Ashok said it's big shoes to fill, but I'm confident Optimus will not disappoint. And interestingly, Scott Walter shared this today about Optimus, quoting something I shared about Optimus last week. And just FYI, if you don't know, Scott Walter is very plugged into the humanoid space. That's really all you need to know. He said the maxim, prototypes are easy, production is hard, does not apply to humanoids. No one, including Tesla has a working prototype worth scaling in the tens of thousands, let alone millions. It's not a scaling problem, it's a prototype problem. Humanoid prototypes are hard. Current prototypes might be scalable, but are not sufficiently capable, nor robust, nor safe, including Optimus. You don't scale a crappy humanoid. Unitree could easily scale the G1 to millions, but to what end? Obsolescence in 6 months? Humanoid prototypes are hard. Ramping up 1 million and 10 million annual capacity lines simultaneously is premature. We will never see that quantity of V3s, not because the supply chain isn't yet mature, but because the prototype is not. Tesla is attempting to scale a moving target. Tesla is impressing by flexing its scaling muscles first, rather than demonstrating any clear technological adroitness first. V3 will not be revealed this year, not over piracy concerns, but because the bar for humanoid demos is beyond its current capabilities to demonstrate. The million-plus Optimi will be V5 or higher. Humanoid prototypes worth scaling are hard. So there you have it. If you thought my takes on Optimus were bearish, well, Scott has even me beat. And frankly, I don't even agree with everything Scott said, but I think it's an important viewpoint to share coming from someone like him. Because, as always, I feel this deep responsibility to do my best to keep everybody's expectations in check, because we have plenty of people in the Tesla community that let expectations and hopium run wild. And the main pushback I have is that Scott doesn't know what type of prototype Tesla has to scale or not. We haven't seen anything from Tesla's Optimus now for months, so obviously they've made some progress over that time. So the fact of the matter is, I don't know, Scott doesn't know, nobody knows what Tesla actually has in terms of a prototype. But here's something I do know, Tesla is not a company that wastes money. Tesla is one of the most capital efficient companies on planet Earth. But unfortunately right now, we're all just shooting in the dark, and when that's the case, I'd rather just not shoot as much. But again, Scott is not some random keyboard warrior, so certainly worth passing along. Today we have Paper Transport, a leading dedicated transportation provider, announcing a partnership with Tesla to evaluate the Tesla Semi. This would be for dedicated operations in Chicago. PTI is evaluating the Tesla Semi long range within its dedicated model, where predictable routes and consistent mileage provide an ideal environment for assessing battery electric performance. And they said, we anticipate a growing synergy between our business as we work to facilitate this sustainable solution for our customers. So we'll see how the pilot goes. It sounds like PTI has a fleet of somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 trucks. But to start, this would be just operations in Chicago, so maybe Tesla could see an order between 40 and 60 units at some point if things go well. But at this point, we can be reasonably confident every pilot is going to go well, because most of them that we've heard about have. Today, Michael Dunn from Dunn Insight said this is arguably the biggest automotive story of the year nobody is talking about. In the first half of this year, the domestic Chinese market has seen sales collapse 20% year over year. BYD sales alone were down 46%. VW and Toyota were down 29% and 17% respectively. And Geely was down 25%, which is important context for Tesla, because Tesla's retail sales in China, January through June, were down 9.3% year over year. But as you can see, being down 9% in this market is actually quite good. For the top 20 brands on this list, only 3 were positive year over year. That's Leap, Xiaomi, and Aido. But every other company is in the red, and only 2 of them are in the red less than 10%, one of them being Tesla. So that's why these Chinese EV makers are flooding the European markets with its EVs. So that's certainly a trend to keep an eye on. Hopefully you all saw the video from Friday where we talked about Andrews Wicker and the nefarious things going on there in New Jersey. Well, it's getting worse. We have a lobbyist from Uber who's now separately pushing to require any platform offering driverless ride-hailing services to have human drivers serve 85% of its rides. So yes, he wants driverless ride-hailing services to have 85% of their rides with a human driver, which, yes, by the way, completely defeats the purpose of a driverless platform. This language would likely prevent self-driving vehicle developers like Waymo, Zoox, and Tesla from operating their own ride-hail apps in the state. it. And here you go. A representative for Uber pitched a version of this proposal to New Jersey State Senator Andrew Zwicker. The Uber lobbyist proposed language restricting standalone robotaxi hailing apps is not currently part of the bill, which could come up for a vote this fall. So in practice, Uber is now officially lobbying to have Tesla required to have 85% of its robotaxi platform in New Jersey require human operators. Now, of course, depending on what happens with that other bill we covered last week, Tesla might not be in New Jersey for a long time anyway. But talk about Uber sending mixed signals here. They're spending tens of billions of dollars on autonomy and talking about how these driverless rides are so safe. But now they come out with this, which makes you wonder, behind the scenes, maybe DAR is starting to realize, hey, all these companies were begging to figure out autonomy to compete with Tesla. They're nowhere near ready. And since that's the case and Waymo can't really scale, then I guess we have to start pushing human drivers into the mix again. I mean, it's crazy. Tesla stock closed the day at $394.76, down 3.19%, and SpaceX quickly approaching the IPO price, closing the day at $139.14, down 4.24%, while the NDX was down 1.88%. Don't forget, check out Surfshark linked below. It is now much more than just a VPN. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.